When we speak about ESGs, especially in extractives, climate change, and transition to green energy, it's worth remembering always that the ESG notion really speaks to the component parts in the E, the G, and the S. I thought that is worth taking time to talk specifically about the G, which is the governance, because within the context of governance itself is a lot of depth. For one, we have the notion of accountability. Let's focus on that for today. Accountability, defined very simplistically, means the responsibility that public and private institutions, and for that matter individuals in position of power, have to account to those whose lives they impact. To be fair, when most people think of accountability, they think of it in the context of governments. The truth is that while that is correct, civil society organizations themselves also must be accountable. They cannot be a law unto themselves. Bringing it to the space of climate change and transition to clean energy, a couple of questions come to mind when I think of accountability. The first is, as governments go to the COPs to negotiate with the world what the pathway is to clean energy, I can't help thinking, how do the governments account to their citizens for the decisions they take at the COPs, given that those decisions are not only life-defining, but that in fact they will impact the very way in which we live? I also can't help thinking, in the space of accountability, what are the mechanisms by which the decisions taken by governments will be communicated to the public, and how are the governments going to account for the actions that follow those decisions? Finally, it's important to think, when the governments go to the COPs, how do they derive that mandate from the public? Are they simply exercising political power, or are they really representing the voices of those whom they represent? In the space of accountability, these are very, very important questions. And just to concretize that notion, think of the decision by South Africa in 2021 to stop mining coal. Think what the impact is on that country's capacity to generate thermal energy. Think what the impact is on the companies that live off the coal industry. Think, for that matter, what the impact of that government's decision is on people that live off coal because they are employed through the coal industry value chain. These are some of the most simplistic reasons why it's important that governments account. In that same year, Nigeria was one of only 5 countries in the world to enact a law on climate change. You have to ask, in doing this, how did the federal government in Nigeria engage the publics, and how is it going to account to the publics for the impact of that law on the publics? When we talk about accountability, when we speak about governance, it is this consortium of considerations, if you wish, that is so vital to ensure that there are no unintended consequences. And in the space of governance through accountability, accountability is really the only tool by which the publics have the ability to be able to say, yes, what you did is acceptable. Yes, what you did serves the public interest. Yes, what you did is in the interest of the sovereign state and is not simply commercially or politically expedient.